Well, welcome back everyone to another sports wrap up. I'm Ryan Nelson, joined alongside by Matt McMaster this morning. Um, Today we're going to talk about a little bit of hockey, a little bit of March Madness possibly coming up a little bit. Some of the conference tournaments are going on right now.
Yes. Yeah.
Duke had a game last night, which was not a favorable ending for me, but it was a game. It was a
Oh,
game.
yeah, you're a Q's fan. I forgot that.
Hey, you
That's-
gotta be. But, when we're talking about the NHL, just start off here, the Hawks have been doing. I honestly can't describe what the Chicago Blackhawks are doing right now.
They're winning and losing. They're just a normal bad team,
Exactly.
according to the standings. But I don't know. They're a couple points out of the second wild card right now. I mean, they're not a bad team. They got a lot of point leaders. They got some good production out of the first and second line. It's just overcoming the hump right now. Just being consistent. They go out and they lose to teams like LA and the Avalanche, and then they go out and beat the Maple Leafs. So
It really is weird when you lose 6-3 against the Kings,
yeah,
and then beat Arizona and Toronto, who are both fighting for not Toronto really fighting for the playoff spot, but Arizona's fighting for a playoff spot right now. Toronto's definitely in a playoff spot and almost 99% sure to get one.
yeah.
You beat those guys, but you lose to the Kings, and who are just a bad NHL team, just bad.
Well, the beautiful thing about hockey is that anyone can win on any night. It just takes a couple components. I mean, first off, if you're a bad team or a team worse than who you're playing, because all these teams know who's good and who's bad and who's supposed to win and who's supposed to lose. It's first off believing you can win, right, and the other team kind of overlooking you, right, and it's also about if you're playing. So like a beautiful thing about hockey, right, is that on any given night, any team can go and beat out another team. It just takes a couple components. And like if you think you can beat a team, right? Also too is like let's say the Hawks played like the Toronto or the Tampa Bay Lightning, right? Who have 13 losses this year.
They're stupid.
They're
It's stupid.
they're a great team. They're a great coach team. And the thing about what the Lightning like to do is like they like to score, right? So if you can get out of the first period, get out of the second period up, or not giving up a goal, right? You're gonna win that game. It's all about hockey is more of a mental game than anything, especially because the little details matter so much more than any other game. So I don't know what to tell you in terms of whether they're gonna make the playoffs or not. Only because they're not a good team and they're not a bad team. They can go out and they can.
They're a team.
They're a team. I mean, they can go out and they can win the next 20 games, or they can go out and lose the next 20 games.
Sure. So the way I see it with the Blackhawks, they have a pretty easy schedule going up next. The only hard games they really have, in my opinion, Winnipeg, St. Louis, Nashville, and possibly San Jose. Those are the only, in my opinion, non-winnable games they have
They beat
left.
St. Louis earlier in the year.
They did, but St. Louis is on a very hot streak with
Yeah.
Jordan Binnington's been killer in the net for them
Yeah.
as of late. But, like teams like Montreal, Vancouver, Philadelphia, Colorado again, Arizona, LA.
Those two Avalanche games are huge this year. I mean, that's a team that's kind of out, right above them, 1 point right now, also vying for that second wild card spot. The Coyotes are going to be a real thorn in the side of everyone in the Central Division who's vying to get in. At this point, though, I think the Blues are in, just the base of how they're playing. The Stars, on the other hand, they've been good as of late, but hockey's a very up and down game. Teams go on hot streaks, teams go on cold streaks. It's all about who's clicking
And honestly,
before the playoffs.
When
That's
I'm-
all that matters.
when I'm looking at the when I'm looking at the playoffs and who could make it, who's on the cusp right there of getting in, it's good for hockey if Arizona makes it. You need to grow that Southwestern market.
Yeah,
And I know
sure.
You should not be fixing games in any way to get Arizona into the playoffs, but if they naturally make it, they're a good team. They've been injured to hell and back this season.
Yeah.
Yet they're still in that playoff spot, fighting with teams like the St. Louis Blues, the Dallas Stars. I mean, Minnesota's already in the bridge right there too. So is Colorado. Colorado started off the season absolutely great. We thought they were going to be the best team in the league this year. Mika Rantanen has a breakout season. McKinnon's still the most underpaid player in the league. Gabriel Landeskog is there. They have a young defense core. Semyon Varlamov has been killer in net. And then they start dropping off a little bit. And now the Blackhawks are 1 point behind them, which honestly is kind of funny. If you had told me in October that Blackhawks and Colorado will be within 1 point of each other by March, I would probably call you crazy.
In October, it was tank for Hughes season.
It is still lose for Hughes season, in my opinion. I think the Hawks should lose. I do not think the Hawks should or need to make the playoffs.
Like I said, the NHL is all about who's clicking before the playoffs, who's winning games before the playoffs, right? That's why if I were to pick a team now to win the West, it'd probably be the Stars, right? Or it'd probably be the Sharks.
So like going to the Stanley Cup Finals for the Western Conference,
yeah,
the
Stars or Sharks at this point, only because, or maybe even the Coyotes. Because we're talking about three teams who have won a lot in their last 10 games, and it's all about who's clicking. And you look at the rest of the West, there's a lot of teams who aren't clicking. If you look at the top of the West, Winnipeg 5-5 in their last 10, Nashville 5-5 in their last 10, the Blues 4-4-2 in their last 10.
If you want to talk about a guy who's clicking, Ben Bishop, the goalie for the Stars.
Yes.
4 straight shutouts against Minnesota, Buffalo, Colorado, New York. No, they're not great teams, but it's very, very difficult in the NHL to get a shutout. And so when he's able to do this on a consistent basis, and the game right before that, he gave up 1 goal to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Which is still insanity. He's a guy who the Stars are going to rely heavily on to win them playoff series. And I think he can. Because we saw it in 2015 when he was with the Lightning, when eventually they lost to the Hawks in the Stanley Cup Finals. He can lead a team through the entire playoffs. He got hurt in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's the only reason the Lightning lost to the Blackhawks, honestly. Yeah. So, in my opinion, Ben Bishop is the beginning and end of the Stars playoff conversation.
When you're a worse seed, right, and you want to upset someone, right, there are a couple of things you need. The first thing is you need a goalie, right? If you could go out there and consistently hold a team to 1 or 2 goals, right, a team especially better than you, right, and they know they're better than you, that not only does it do a lot for the score, it does a lot for the mental aspect of the game.
Yep.
If you're playing a team, in the Western Conference, right, like the Predators or the Jets, right, a team who thinks they're better than you, and they're moving the puck around the zone, and they have all the possession of the game, and they just can't get the puck in the net, they're gonna draw a blank. They're not gonna know what to do. They're not gonna be in familiar territory. I think that mostly goes for the Lightning. Say the Lightning play the Maple Leafs, right? And the Lightning are moving the puck around, and they're getting 40 shots, and they only got 1 goal going in the third, and they only got 1 goal with 5 minutes left in the third, and all of a sudden they're down. That does a lot for the mental aspect of the game. And hockey is a mental sport. The thing about hockey is that it's a game of mistakes. Every time you go out there, you're going to make more mistakes than you are going to make, good plays. And that's just not. That's not like you're a bad player. That's just how the game is.
No, you mentioned Tampa Bay if they face Toronto in the playoffs. So the possibility of Toronto playing the Tampa Bay Lightning is too high for me. In my opinion, the NHL playoff bracket and the way it's formatted is just not right.
I like it.
Why do you like it? I want to hear your reasons why you think this is a.
I think it has more. If you're looking at a marketing standpoint, right, it has a lot more to do with your division.
It does.
And at the end of the day, the best 8 teams are still going to get in because that's just how hockey works. I understand that you could have a situation, right, where if you look at the Western Conference, everybody in that division is vying for a playoff spot. The Blackhawks are the worst team in that division, and they're only out of a playoff spot by 6 points, But I think the best 8 teams are always going to get in, right? And also, it raises the stakes. 5 years ago, Chicago playing the Avalanche probably wouldn't be that big of a deal, right? But now that it's a division game and you're vying for a playoff spot, those are going to be 2 sellout games for the Hawks, right? Because that's just such a huge game with high stakes in your division. I think it does a lot for marketing. It does a lot for sales. What about business aspect of it? Also, like I said, the best 8 teams are always going to get in the playoffs, and it's a lot more entertaining, because when you think about it, when you got these 2 divisions, right? When you just had 8 teams, it was always about who's going to be 8, right? And who's going to be 9. Now it's like you look in the division and it's just like you don't know who's going to get in, which is kind of the suspense, which is kind of what hockey needs more than anything.
Okay, so I understand. I get what you're saying about the business marketing and the rivalry aspect of these games. They're going to be so much better. But if you look in the Eastern Conference right now, the 3 best teams in the Eastern Conference are Tampa Bay, Boston, Washington.
Okay, yeah.
Right behind them is the Maple Leafs and the Islanders and the Penguins.
I would say the Islanders are better than the Bruins. I don't think about hockey.
Okay, now
don't look at the points because
I've looked at their roster and I do not think
you
that's a playoff
roster. You got to understand the Bruins
roster.
get to play the Senators and the Red Wings and the Sabres, more so Red Wings and Senators, a lot more than the Islanders do. The worst team in the Islanders division, the Devils, right, could have about 70 points if they played in that conference.
Okay.
Teams are wildly mismanaged by points in the NHL. That's always been the case.
Yes, I'm not arguing against that. But when you say the Islanders are better than the Bruins,
they're a team. The Islanders are a team.
They are a team, and they're coached by, in my opinion, the top 3 head coach in the NHL right now.
The best coach in the NHL.
John Cooper's still the best coach in the NHL.
Best coach in the NHL. Joe Quenneville's the best coach in the
NHL. Okay. We'll get to that later, okay?
We don't have to. It's just a lot of anger. And I like this guy, though.
Colleton?
Okay,
you know what? We're going to go a little off book right here. I'm going to rip out a little Notre Dame newspaper right here, and I'm going to read you
Is this been published yet?
This has been published. This is the one. This is the one you got over
Christmas
break.
I didn't read it. I'm sorry,
okay,
Ryan.
No, it's fine. I understand. No, but
I like Colleton. He's a young coach. He gets bodies in front of the net, but he also likes to play the little cycle game, which is always enjoyable.
He was talking to my favorite broadcaster, Pierre McGuire, the other day.
You like Pierre McGuire?
Gosh. Pierre McGuire is he's an interesting character, I'll say that. But
he's a character. He's not very interesting, if you ask me.
So he was talking to Pierre McGuire on the bench the other day, Wednesday night when they were playing the Leafs. Oh my God, that game was it was fun.
It was intense.
It was fun.
It was intense. I was sweating a little bit.
Gosh. But no, so he was talking to them, and he's like, yeah, our weakness is in our own zone, and our strength is on the breakout. So we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to stay on the breakout a lot. We're not going to try to stay in our zone too much. And the third period, they stayed in their zone a little too much.
Yeah.
But here, going back to I wrote this probably about, so he was fired November 6th. I probably wrote this article November 31st or 30th.
So there's not a lot of anger in it.
There's a somewhat rational explanation to what I'm thinking.
Okay.
So I said, like fans, I was generally infuriated by this move at first, talking about the Colleton hiring and Quenneville firing. But then it began to develop into less of a desire to look at the past and look at the future with the new head coach, Jeremy Colleton. For casual fans, Colleton looks like a millionaire's son who was just thrown behind the bench. But when you look at the story behind the man, you'll notice it's not the case. He's a former player who got injured, took up coaching to continue his service to the game he loved. The Blackhawks have that right now. The Hawks are taking a man who has successful experiences in Europe and the AHL and placing him in a role where every breath will be scrutinized due to who preceded him. In my opinion, this move was not about firing Quenneville, but about elevating Colleton, the head coach. So the way I thought about it in late November last year, I believe that it was more about what the Blackhawks were getting in Carleton than what they were losing in Quinville. I wrote.
I don't think it has anything to do with that.
Okay. So
I think it has everything to do with the game the Blackhawks wanted to play. Because you look at their roster 2015, 2013, 2010, and you kind of look at the general state of the NHL, which is kind of what the general state of a lot of hockey leagues are. It's you get the puck to the points, you get big bodies in front of the net, right, and you shoot the puck. And then you got guys like Kane, and you got guys like Sharp and Hossa who are able to manage the puck into the zone, set something up, and get those guys in front of the net and get the puck to the defenseman. That's why you look at that. That's why they got rid of Oduya. That's why they got rid of Dromerson, because you kind of saw this coming a little bit, because they got rid of those guys who could really fire the puck from the blue line.
Yes.
All right, and you kind of got guys like Murphy and bigger defensemen who are known for their defense, because the NHL is evolving into a run and gun league.
It is. Yes.
Where you got big guys, right? Big defensemen who are able to put bodies on smaller guys, get the puck out of your zone, and then you run the break. I mean, look at the second line of the Chicago Blackhawks. You got Strome, you got DeBrincat, you got
Perlini or Cahoon,
depending on who it is. These guys are fast, right? They can handle the puck. And you look at the first line, right? Taze, Kane, Devin Karugula, right? Am I saying?
Drake Caggiula.
Drake Caggiula, Drake Arugula, whatever, you know. I mean, Taze and Kane have never really been on the same line.
You're talking about Jonathan Tomatoes, dude? I love that guy.
Yeah. Patrick Hale. But no, you got guys on. I mean, Taze and Kane have never really, truly. I think I didn't really watch Blackhawks last year.
Okay.
I'm just kind of the hockey. Hockey guy. I've played hockey a lot.
Okay.
But they've never really been on the same line.
No, they haven't.
And now
Quinville hated it.
And this year they are, and that's simply because they're. I mean, Calhoun kind of serves as the grinder on the second line, where Strome and DeBrincat are kind of the skill guys, right? And in this case, Kane is the skill guy, and you got Drake and Taze, who are both kind of in the middle of that, you know, from watching the games I've had. So it's a very run and gun league, and Quinville wasn't really getting there. That's why they traded Schmaltz, because Schmaltz wasn't that.
So here, going back to the Carleton hiring and firing, whatever it is, I felt that teams like the Kings, the Flyers, and one other team I just can't think of, they were all firing their head coaches, and I think Carleton, everyone's looking at him. This is a young guy. This is a 33-year-old guy.
Yeah.
You look at. I mean. Yeah. Let's be honest. Owners and general managers look around the league and to other leagues.
As you
so
should.
They're looking at the NFL, saying this Sean McVay guy is an innovative young head coach. This Jeremy Carleton guy is a young head coach who could possibly bring a nice new energy to our team.
Exactly.
And so I thought the Hawks were like, we do not want to lose this guy and keep Quinville for another 2 years and say, oh, shucks, after 2 years, we had this really good kid who's now in whatever city in Canada, because we were not willing and have the cojones to fire Quinville at that time.
You gotta understand too. They've been winning more with Carleton.
They have.
More than they did with Quinville. And it was because of, it was a little bit about the roster. Quinville didn't have his roster, right? The GMs had made decisions. They traded away players that like Dromerson, Oduya, that really fit into the system of Quinville. Yeah. I think the biggest factor, red light to what Quinville's system was when they traded Panarin for Saad. Because the reason is Artemi Panarin is a lot like Patrick Kane. He's not Patrick Kane, but he's a lot like him. Handles the puck.
He's getting close to Patrick Kane.
Yeah, and he's a great playmaker. He carries the puck into the zone. He's able to set up the offense. The thing is that Quinville didn't need a guy like that. That didn't fit his system, and they traded him for a guy like Saad, who proved over and over again that he does because he's in the middle. This is in terms of offense, right? This is what Quinville likes. In the middle guys who can shoot the puck, right?
Yes. So is this an old school versus new school mentality?
Yes. This is 100% old school versus new school mentality.
Okay, I agree.
And I think it was a
agree with you
very
there.
smart decision
Okay.
that and I think that they were, I don't know what's going on inside of the front office of the Blackhawks. I can only imagine that they were trying to communicate in some way to Quinville, like, look, you got to figure another way to do this because we can't.
And Joe Quinville seems like the kind of guy that says, "Yeah, right, I'm going to do
exactly,
that."
Exactly. And also, too, it's kind of hard. I mean, at the time, right, 2014, 2013, 2015, 2016, until kind of this year and last year, right, it was, big guys could get in front of the net, and defensemen who have a shot were high on the market. And it was hard to really acquire guys like that.
There are still GMs out there who like the big guys, like the Pittsburgh Penguins. Jack Johnson and Eric Branson are on the same line now for them.
Exactly.
Oh my God, that's like the worst defensive pairing in the league.
So like they're still high on the market, and I think the Blackhawks were like, we're done spending money. This is kind of a little bit of a Moneyball thing if they discovered it like 10th. Okay. Instead of first, and they're developing. I like the direction. And at the end of the day, I like the direction of where they're going.
So do I.
And it's very encouraging. And I wasn't too mad at the Quinville firing. Okay. Only because I kind of saw it coming. Let's be honest. You missed the playoffs the year before. You got knocked out in the first round 2 years before, like the two previous years, right?
And you got an embarrassing loss.
And you got Taze, and you have Kane. You have two Hall of Famers still in their prime, right? And you're just, and I know it's not like basketball. It's not 3 stars and you win. It's a team game, and that's huge, right? But you still have guys to build around, and you're kind of wasting their years. And when they went out and they were losing games at the beginning of the season, the Blackhawks were like, okay, we're not going to wait. We can't waste another season of Taze and Kane talent. And they got I keep forgetting. I want to say Carlton because that's just such a hockey name.
It is.
Colleton.
Colleton, there you go.
I know this for all the viewers out there. I know what his last name is. I know who the coach of my hockey team is.
That Jeremy guy.
It's the Jeremy guy. But like I was saying, they didn't want to go through another season of losing, and they gave Colleton patience, right, when he started losing his first couple games. And he kept saying on interviews, he's like, look, we are just developing the system. They don't know what to do yet, right, and neither do I.
Now, you play hockey.
Yeah. So that's how it works. So, like, when you get a new head coach, right, it'll take you about 2 months just to get used to that system. Now, in high school hockey, it's different.
It is.
Because, like, my varsity coach this year was my freshman coach. Okay. So I already knew what he wanted. But when you go into, like, other organizations, like, I've been on tournament teams and I've been on, like other teams that play together. Yeah. It takes you a little bit to get used to the system. Now, it takes even longer when that coach has to get used to you. You know?
Yeah.
And it helps that Colleton was in the system of the Blackhawks before he was hired because he kind of knew what he was getting.
That's why I think that so many young guys are flourishing on college system.
Because he knew, like when you hire a brand new coach, right? It's looking at the roster and being like, oh, he's a good player. Oh, he's a good player. Only does so much. It's kind of all about knowing the aspects and attributes that every player has, And I think Colleton knew the roster. He went out and got guys that fit his system, like Dylan Strome, right?
So when I see guys like Dominic Cahoon, Dylan Sakura, and David Kampf, I see those guys as those are Colleton guys.
Yeah.
Those are guys who know his system, know how to play it effectively, and have been performing well because of that.
Exactly.
Cap Friendly gives every single contract stat you could ever want from any.
What's their salary cap right now for next year?
The Hawks have $4.6 million this year in opened up salary cap. Next year, they have money. I'm not exactly sure of their number here. You know what? I found it right here. Next year, their projected cap space is $19 million. So
Is that a lot in hockey?
that's a decent amount of
Okay.
decent chunk of chance. Okay, so when I looked at the Blackhawks roster, so I looked at it around August of this year. I said this team is going nowhere. This team is bad right now, and it's going to be bad for the future.
Because they didn't fit a system.
But I think now, I think Drake Caggiula, I think Dominic Kuhn, Sakura, Kemp, Strome, Perlini, DeBrincat, Hayden. I see Gustafsson performing great. I see
Yeah.
Forsling performing decently. Cuckoo's been pretty nice. Dahlstrom's been pretty good. I see Mackenzie Entwistle. I see Victor Edgell. I see Nathan Knoll.
You don't
I
see Chris Kunitz? My boy Chris Kunitz?
I did not see Chris Kunitz.
My 37-year-old old defense or is he a forward?
He's
or
a
defense?
forward. I see Nicholas Baudon. I see Henry Koharu. I see Adam Bolkvist. I see Lucas Carlson. I see Yoni Tulula. I see these guys. I see Colin Delia. And I see a future for this Hawks team that I did not see earlier.
Well, 'cause
Philip Kirsch has killed it at
it's
the World
all
Juniors this year.
about it's all about the system. You're naming guys who aren't that big, right? Who have a lot of skill, who have a lot of
Yes.
speed,
Yes.
who you thought were going nowhere. But
Like-
now they're in a system where it's all about skill and speed, and now they're going somewhere. It's all hockey is so much about the coach. It's ridiculous because it's so easy to take a bad team into a good team for hockey because you
Yeah.
could just base your offense off of attributes of your team. If you have a fast team, right? You run the break. You just get pucks to the net on the fast break,
Yeah.
and you crash it. If you got a team that can shoot, you run the cycle, or you run some type of offense that slips a winger right into the high slot. And you would need, and that's kind of what the Hawks did a lot with Hossa. Is they would slip him into the high slot, and then they had a grinder center like Kruger or like Shaw, right, who would get in there, get the pucks, have possession, move it up, and they'd slip it right to Hossa, and he'd shoot. They do that with Sharp. They did that with Taze. And the thing about a guy like Kane, if you look at Quenneville's offense, he never really fit into the system.
True.
As in, like, he didn't really need to, though, because he's such an amazing player.
Yeah.
But now he's on a quote-unquote bad team, right, who's out of the playoffs, yet he has 100 points on the season. It's because he's finally in a system that rewards players like him who are fast and who are skilled. So I think that who was the winner in all of this, and I want to move on to basketball.
Okay.
Because I got a lot of hot takes there.
Okay.
And that's kind of my specialty. But
Got
if
it.
you look at the winners of all of this, right, you got to look at three people who won. First off, it's the Blackhawks, right,
Yes.
because they actually have a future,
Yes.
okay, and they actually look like a team who are going to be able to compete in the next coming years. There are actually four winners, right? The second winner is the NHL,
Yep.
all right? Finally, your big market team, right, who has so much history in the league, who's young, they got this new little like attitude and system to them, right? They're big winners here. The third is Patrick Kane. He's finally in a system he can perform in, and right, he's going to be he's an MVP candidate this year. He'll be an MVP candidate for the next couple of years. The fourth winner is Dylan Strome.
Mm-hmm.
Dylan Strome was considered a bust 4 months ago, right? He was stuck in Arizona in a system that he wasn't able to perform in on a line that didn't reward his type of skill set. And now he's a 50. He's going to be a 60-point guy this year.
I was just about to mention Dylan Strome and how
I think he's a 60-point guy right now. I gotta look him up.
Well, he had such a bad start in Arizona. I think he's around a 50-point guy. He has 44 points in 45 games, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
with the
he's a
Hawks.
point per game guy. And that's a little because his development has definitely been delayed.
It has.
A third pick in the draft, I mean, you don't really look for a point per game guy necessarily. You look for a point and a half or a 50-goal scorer, which he isn't yet. But this guy, you have to understand, it's like he didn't really develop in Arizona. He didn't. I mean, through a couple years of the NHL, you're gonna get better, but he didn't really fit into the system and get better as he's supposed to, and it's because of his confidence, if anything. Like I said, hockey is such a mental game, and when you go that many seasons with not performing, and the media in your ear, and everyone's saying that you're not what you were supposed to be, it does a lot.
Yeah, well, so I absolutely love the brought up Strome because I was just about to bring him up as well to finish off here at the NHL. When you look at what the Hawks have done to Strome, they've given him a second chance to revive his career, and I love it because I think that it's going to be
Trades like that, yeah.
It should be. That could be one of the biggest deals in the league. We haven't seen what Schmaltz has really been doing in Arizona because he's been injured.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think it's a good trade, especially because they got Pierlini, who has the potential to be a 30-goal scorer. He's 11th overall pick.
Yeah.
Of course, he could do anything. You know, I see the Dylan Strome thing, and I see the Pierlini thing, and I see these guys who are seen as busts on Arizona come to the Hawks and be good. I think the Hawks should trade for Jesse Puljujarvi from the Edmonton Oilers, who's right now seen as a bust. He was a 4th overall pick, seen to be.
Now they all don't work out, Ryan.
They
all don't work out.
But the way I see this, the Hawks are gonna have a lot of cap space for the next few years.
Yeah.
I see the Hawks. They should trade for Jesse Puljujarvi and Milan Lucic. Now hear me out.
I'm okay with that. I like Lucic.
Getting Lucic, first of all, he's a bruiser. He's going to protect your young players. I know I'm saying the old hockey stuff right now, but you know what? He's a hockey player nonetheless. He's going to make Puljujarvi so much cheaper.
Okay.
If they get Milan Lucic packaged with Puljujarvi, oh my God, the Hawks can get Puljujarvi for nothing. And if they can get an inch of what he was meant to be, it'd be worth it for them, in my opinion.
No, I totally agree. All right, now.
Yes.
Let's move on to the fun stuff. I got some. So we're on to the March Madness tournament, which will be starting. Seeding is Sunday. First games are Thursday, which I'm going to be missing because I'm going to be on Kairos, which is not fun. But so I got a list here. Of yeses and nos.
Okay.
All right. So my first guess is Texas Tech because of Matt Mooney.
Of course.
Gotta love Matt Mooney, ND alum. Probably going to be on a G League team next year because he's a great defensive player.
He is great defensive.
He can shoot the three, right? That's my first guess. Okay. Defense wins championships.
One of the best defenses in the world.
It's all about, honestly, the key factors here are Morietti, who's I don't know if you know who he is. He's a sharp shooting guard from Italy. From Italy. He's a great player. If he can get going, and Mooney too. I mean, Jarrett Culver's a top 10 pick. He's a great player.
Top 5 pick even in my. He's getting up there.
I mean, like in terms of big board, he's like 6th, but he'll probably go 9th because the teams lower on the board don't really need a power forward, and if they do, they're going to take Zion or Jarrett or Barrett.
Yeah.
So that's why I think that, but. They're a great defensive team. Chris Beard is a great coach. So that's what I got. Yes, in Texas Tech. Tennessee. I love how Tennessee. I don't know if Tennessee's gonna get in.
Well, they're ranked 2nd right now in the projected bracket on CBS Sports right now.
They're 2nd.
So
wait, they're a 2 seed.
They have a 2 seed.
Oh no, I get Tennessee and Texas confused because they're both orange. And they both got a T.
Yeah.
I'll go to Texas real quick. Texas, are they even in?
They are not in.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll X them out because Texas, they're a hard-fighting team. They got a lottery pick. He's a big guy. I forgot his name. He's a great power forward. They're a grinding team. I would have taken Texas to make a couple upsets. Okay. All right. Another team that I like a lot, Seton Hall. All right, Seton Hall throughout the season has played some really tough games, right? They have lost a couple games to decent opponents, but while also beating some really good teams. I know they've beaten a couple good teams. I don't know which ones exactly.
I'm looking at it right now. Gonna fill some.
They're a tough team. And that's what I like. The Matt McMaster bar of whether you're going to make it through March Madness is toughness.
Okay, they beat Kentucky.
Yeah, they beat Kentucky. That's what I was thinking of.
Okay.
They beat Kentucky. They've lost.
They beat St. John's, who had a big win.
They've had some couple losses down the stretch.
They lost to Nebraska.
They lost to DePaul a couple of times, right? But that's I think DePaul has their number, right? Another team that I like a lot, Gonzaga. Every year with Gonzaga, you know what you're getting, right? This isn't supposed to be a bracketology thing. This is just supposed to be basketball.
Yeah.
But if I were filling out your brackets, I'd put Nebraska in the Elite Eight because they always get there.
Nebraska?
Or not Nebraska, Gonzaga.
Okay.
Because they always get there and they're that good.
Yeah.
All right. So I have plenty of other teams on here. Michigan I like. Virginia Tech I like. North Carolina. North Carolina is just like Gonzaga. Year in, year out, they're going to get to where you want to go.
Yeah.
Here are my no's. Duke.
Ooh.
I have Duke as a no. Duke's a very inconsistent team. They're not amazing defensively. And the thing about Zion Williamson, I don't see the hype.
Okay, nothing. You don't see.
I see why. He's a freak of an athlete. Mm-hmm. He's 260, 6'8", got a 40-inch vertical, which isn't supposed to exist. The thing about Zion, though, is that he doesn't really fit into a offensive system.
Okay.
The reason is that, I mean, like, you can give him the ball at the top of the key and he'll drive in and make a layup. But in terms of setting screens, right, and moving around, they don't really do a whole lot with that. If you look at his points, it's top of the key ISOs and fast breaks, you know?
Yeah.
That's why he went 13 for 13 yesterday, because he just had layups and he had dunks. You know what I'm saying? So he's not a complete system player, and I think teams are going to find that out and be able to shut down them on the fast break.
Okay.
And I don't think Zion can necessarily carry a team.
But can a team of Zion, Barrett, and Cameron Reddish carry a team?
I have them losing to Seton Hall in the Sweet 16.
Okay.
If anything.
Okay.
My next no is Kansas. This is completely biased. Big Texas Tech guy. Kansas is in the Big 12.
At least you admitted it.
Kansas, I mean, they're also kind of a little bit like Duke. They're fairly inconsistent. I don't see a whole lot of star power necessarily on Kansas, which is why I picked them to lose in the round of 32, Sweet 16. Another team that I'm not too very high on is Wisconsin. Wisconsin. The thing about Wisconsin is that they've won a lot of games in a fairly weak Big Ten this year, other than Michigan State and Michigan, which is why I think 8 teams got into the Big Ten this year, because like a lot of them were feeding off the bottom feeders and beating each other.
Yeah.
I just don't see a player on that. The thing about March Madness is that you need a player, right, that in the last 5 minutes of the game is going to carry you, right? Or you need a group of players.
Like
right?
Zion Williamson.
And I don't think Zion can carry a team. I think RJ can.
Okay.
But they're going to give Zion the ball. And the problem is that they got Cam and Zion, so RJ's not really going to get the ball like he needs to.
He
right?
needs the ball.
So I don't. Wisconsin is kind of a toss-up for me. They're either going to go to the Elite Eight, or they're going to lose in the round of 32.
Well,
a team that I like.
The way they have it on CBS right now, they're facing Liberty in the first round. Liberty is a conference champion.
So I'm on ESPN.
Okay.
So yeah, go ahead.
No, here, go ahead. Wait.
So they play UC Irvine on here, and then they play St. Mary's.
Okay.
And St. Mary's is a lot like Seton Hall, where they've won a couple big games this year, right? And they've been able to fight hard against good teams. So I'd pick St. Mary's in an upset over Mississippi State.
Okay.
And I would favor them against Wisconsin.
You would favor St. Mary's over Wisconsin?
Over Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yes. That's really it. Florida State and Auburn, I really want them to play. TCU is a tough team. I wouldn't be surprised if they upset Auburn. Auburn's a good team, though.
Okay.
So that's like, if your bracket's going to get busted, it's definitely going to be in Louisville, in the south part of the bracket.
Okay.
Because you got a lot of teams there. Like, you got Nevada, who are playing St. John's. St. John's is a good team. Nevada's a really good team, right? You got Iowa State, or you got Seton Hall, who could upset Iowa State. I know a lot of people are fairly high on Iowa State, right? And Seton Hall, I think, could upset Duke. And then you got Kansas State and Virginia Tech, who are two very even teams. I like Tech. Syracuse, Iowa. Iowa is a team that was off to a really hot start this year, who went out, who was cruising through the Big Ten, and they've kind of dialed it back the last couple months.
Yeah.
That's it. But I love teams like that. I love teams who were out to a hot start and then kind of slowed down, only because you know there are good teams there, and they could be overlooked by other teams. And overlooking an opponent, right, in anything is why there are so many underdogs.
Yep.
It's because a team could walk in, like Virginia, best example last year. They played that 16th MITSB something, all those letters.
UMBC.
Yeah, and they were
University of
like,
Maryland.
you know what? We just have to show up, and we're gonna win. Because it not only was Virginia like a number one seed, they were the number one seed.
Yep.
They were the all consensus AP number one team in the country.
It wasn't like they lost a close game.
They got crushed.
They did.
And the reason why is because they thought they just had to show up, right? And that the 16 seed team thought, you know what, we can do it. And they started to believe themselves throughout the game, and that's why they won by so much.
Yeah.
Um,
Here, I'll give you. So I'm not a huge college basketball guy, but I'll give you two.
and you know what? I'm not that huge of it either.
You're
I'm
definitely bigger than me.
Yeah, no,
Like even UNC Duke, I barely watch those games. I watch highlights. Two teams. Syracuse, I feel they kind of
Stop.
get out of here.
Stop.
Syracuse, I think they're going to be.
Disclaimer: Ryan is going to Syracuse
They're
in
underrated.
the fall.
They're underrated.
So-
because it's their 20-13 overall record does not show the entire story. They play in one of the best conferences in the
Yes,
country.
they play in the ACC.
ACC. Their losses are to Duke,
Do you know how many
North
teams,
Carolina,
like,
and Duke again. They have to face some tough teams in there, some historically great teams in there.
Like South Carolina.
Okay.
I'm just like, I get it every year with these ACC teams. We're like, oh, we only lost to North Carolina and Duke. We're gonna get it, and they flop in the round of 32.
Okay.
I'm not. No, I don't
Okay.
like. I'm not a big ACC guy.
I think if Syracuse has Tyus Battle on full health, Frank Howard had a great game last
Who?
night. Tyus Battle,
Who?
their best player. Only reason I know that is because he's been injured, so
Yeah.
he got hurt. So.
Look.
Okay, just one thing.
Okay.
I think if Syracuse had full health, they play the right game. Like the game they lost to who was it, Virginia, and they went like 18 for 25 from three.
Yeah.
Like that's insanity. You got to stop that. But overall, they're a pretty okay defensive team who's got some pretty high-powered offense when they can. So I think Syracuse's team to watch is a possible underrated team by many. The other team, I think it's just because of that one star, Murray State.
John Morant. Yeah.
Yes.
I wasn't gonna bring him up only because usually with like Trae Young, we heard a lot of. He
Yes.
was kind of on the same situation where his team wasn't that great. But I like Murray State a little bit more because not a lot of people watch Murray State. I certainly don't watch them, so
You think I knew?
I couldn't tell you whether or not they're underrated or not. But that's definitely a team that could make some noise. They did a little bit. They were supposed to be the upset team last year,
Yeah.
and they didn't really pan out. And quickly before we wrap up
Yeah.
here, I like Marquette.
Get it? Sports wrap up.
Sports wrap up. Marquette's a good team.
Okay.
They're just a solid team. They got this kid in the team's averaging 35 points against ranked opponents, which is absolutely ridiculous, and that's kind of what you need in the tournament. So I like Marquette. So my likes are Marquette, Seton Hall, and Gonzaga. My dislikes are Duke.
Okay, my likes are Syracuse and Murray State. Okay, well that's where all we have for you right now. We're hopefully gonna get one of these up next week as well. We're gonna try to get these a little more consistent. Just plans. It just comes down to the plans we have. So
Yeah.
thank you all for listening. Have a great weekend or rest of your week, and go Dons.